Hello everyone, happy new year. Hopefully everyone is not doing too bad, not suffering as much as I am. I'm joking. No, I just feel like a degenerate. I've been playing tons of bullets, but okay. Let's start with the puzzle. Assuming that everything is working, just gonna do the usual checkups. Haha. Let's start with the puzzle. Hello everyone. Okay, everything seems to be doing okay. 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 Sorry. Okay, well, so yeah, in this case, we have got this position. The arrows, normally when I highlight something in orange, it means these pieces are useless. These pieces are not contributing to anything in the puzzle. Or, okay, maybe there are some exceptions to that rule, but in this case, it means that all of these pieces are not, they could or could not exist, and it's going to be the same. Now, this red highlight on this rook means that we don't even need this rook either, so it could have highlighted it in orange, but because it was our own piece, I wanted to make it and emphasize really in the idea that we don't need this rook. So one of the first Scandinavian moves that I had is rook e8, probably the same that you guys had. But this is failing to king h7, and all of a sudden there's no mate. Like there's not a fade, but then you get lost in the lines. For instance, knight f8, king g8, and I don't see any mate. So I reminded myself of this motif where there's a rook covering the f file in this case, and there's a knight on g6 that could jump to e7. I immediately thought about this final image of mate, where there's a king in the h file, there's a pawn on g7, and there's a knight on e7. So black cannot access the g file, and if a rook or a queen, anything that attacks in a column, comes to the h file, it's going to be mate. You guys get the idea by now. Knight e7 and rook h4 wins. Okay, so we are live, things working. We're gonna play a little bit of 3+0. As I said, I was playing, goodness gracious, I was playing 1+0 like a complete degenerate. It's been tough. Okay, so we're playing against Wunmas. We're actually using the new layout. I'm not sure if you guys noticed. Now the board is a square as well. We're gonna play our repertoire with 1 d6, so they go for this line with d5. I've played against this, I've played f5, but I've learned that actually we don't have to go f5 in this case. After f5, e4, white gets a good games. I mean, it's playable as well. But given that the center is closed after this move d4, d5, we can approach this position in a completely different way. Hence, the move a5. David, a5, you're not occupying the center, it's the opening. Well, it's the opening, but the center, as I said, is closed. So they go h4. Not sure if this is a joke, or they thought that a5 was a complete trolling type of move. h4 doesn't seem that useful. I mean, it is a closed position at the same, like everything that I've said still holds some value. But I don't completely believe in this. So now I'm gonna go f5 maybe? Considering this move. I mean, among others, I've got, maybe I should have gone, like, kept this knight on a6, a little bit more flexible, but okay, it is a blitz game and I do have to make moves semi-quickly. Not as quickly as in a bullet game, sorry. But still, to some degree, make moves and not flag. So I'm just going to continue developing. Usually you go bishop e7 before playing knight f6, just to prevent bishop g5 ideas. I don't think it's going to be relevant in this case. And actually, I'm going to completely switch plans. I was originally going to develop the bishop to e7, which I believe would have been okay, but maybe not the best. And now I'm developing to g7. Now bishop g7, bishop takes e5 is potentially losing this pawn. I think I'm going to sacrifice it, actually. I think the dark squares are worth more. They are worth more. Okay, I'm going to go knight e4. So now the idea is knight takes e4, f takes e4, where the knight on e5 is all of a sudden hanging. And there's only one move to save it as far as I can see, and that's f4. But after f4, maybe I can play queen d6 and I'm regaining the pawn. And at the very least, my bishop on g7 is shining. Because there's no opposition, there's no dark squared bishop of white. We have essentially the bishop pair. My bishop on c8 is not that good, so I don't mind trading it for the bishop on h3. So in the resulting position of bishop against this knight, I'm going to be pretty happy. Even bishop, light squared bishop against dark squared bishop, I would be happy. So for instance, after bishop takes e4, bishop takes e4, I think my bishop is stronger. Okay, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that last point. But okay, regardless of anything, let's take this pawn. Bishop c3 is the real threat in this case. I'm going to castle. I'm going to keep the tension. I'm not sure if I want to break the tension with bishop takes e4. I think for now, I'm not devastated if white gets knight e3. But okay, maybe I am devastated. Difficult to evaluate with a couple of seconds. Okay, I think I'm going to go for it ultimately. Now queen f6 is just a cheapo, but I'm going to continue regardless with this plan. Here I have to take care of my pawn on b7. Queen c2 I estimate, okay. And yeah, we have this position and it's equal. That's my guess. So I'm going to double in the f file. My opponent is essentially going to presumably, arguably, potentially prepare f3. I'm gonna go rook f6, rook f8. And yeah, this is a waiting game. Oh my goodness, I blunder rook c1 like a complete yeah, this is the effect of bullet. I've been playing bullet like a degenerate. What did I expect? I have to do something about that bishop on a1. Somehow it's not getting trapped just yet. Okay, let's go bishop c3, bishop a1, and I'm gonna go bishop d4 to prevent, avoid, restrict. Yeah, restrict doesn't apply that much. Do not allow my opponent to get a draw. I mean, it's not like I'm shining like a star here. If anything, I'm probably losing. But it looks a little scary. And sometimes that's all someone needs. And I think now I'm getting some counterplay. I have to play e3 because if not, queen h6 is devastating and ruining everyone's hopes and dreams, particularly mine. Queen f6, defending my stuff. Of course, e takes f takes e3 is still impossible. And we get the game. Thanks for the game, Winmas. Let's take a look. Hello, Roger. Happy New Year. Okay, so a5. Yeah, f5 is the main move, and it scores very well for black. If white doesn't go for e4, but after e4, then it scores very good for white, so don't get fooled. Don't get fooled. a5, on the other hand, is scoring pretty well throughout the wide variety of responses. So knight e6, and h4, as we suspected, this was dubious, but yeah, we failed to punish it. Bishop e7 or f5 was a little bit better. And this doesn't work that well. Give me a second. Yeah. Okay. No, we're just testing there. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Hopefully your sleeping schedule is not that ruined. Mine is, definitely. But it was worth it. It was worth it. I spent it very nicely. Hopefully everyone else had a wonderful Happy New Year as well. So Happy New... a New Year. Now, bishop takes e5 just wins a pawn according to this, but I don't think it's that simple. Exactly. Here, white had to play queen a4, so it wasn't that simple. After... Yeah, if not, it's roughly equal. Bishop takes c8 is the second move, but it's not as dominating and decisive as the first move. I mean, the top engine move is not winning by no means, but it's near winning. It's +1. It's not above the magic number. The +1 is considered to be practically a clear advantage, for sure. So white is much better. And yeah, this is a problem, actually. I can't go bishop d7, so I have to move the king, and if I have to move the king, I lose my castling rights. But both of us missed this. Pretty poor. And yeah, after this, we're doing well. Now, there is one move that shines and is significantly better than the others, and that's h5, because after knight e3, there's bishop takes h3. Rook takes h3 is forced, given that f2 is weak. And then queen f6. And there's no good way of defending this guy other than queen f1, I guess, or queen g1. So if I had noticed that white was forced to put the queen in a super passive position, I would have gone for that. But instead of this, I went for this endgame, and actually, middle game, sorry. Opposite colored bishop middle game. And this is completely lost for black, actually. Plus 1.7. So this is pretty instructive in my mind, in my evaluation. This is like pretty normal, but yeah. Hello, Dev. Hello, Viking. A good day, sir. Happy New Year. Hope all the best. Thank you. You too. You too. And yeah, so queen c2 was the best. I think it has to do with this bishop and this weakness on e4. But okay, I think if I wanted to find out the true reason why this is lost, concretely, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's this bishop on c3. It's very weird. So for example, queen c2, already you have to start worrying about the pawn on e4, so queen e5, rook b3, and then this is already kind of trapping the bishop. The engine actually gives a4, allowing e3, which looks like is saving the bishop. But then f4. And I'm not understanding anything. But it's a very dynamic position for sure. That's why I'm not understanding anything, because like it's much more concrete than it seems. For example, rook f3, and what's the threat? Oh, sacrificing on e3. Yeah. And maybe we are surprised, like for example, let's say king h8, they sacrifice on e3. This is completely winning for white, by the way, plus 2.4. Probably more if we let the engine think even more. So not only the diagonal is super weak, which we have to address with something like queen e7, but even if that wasn't the case, we have no open files for our rooks. Therefore, it's not such an exchange sacrifice. It's my rooks, I can't make the most of the exchange. So yeah, and white on the other hand will be able to push their only passed pawn, given the structure is closed and my structure is damaged, by the way. This is the only passed pawn, and that's what ultimately decides the game. Well, this is what I think is deciding the game. Changed to dark mode. Yep. I give it a lot of thought, but yeah. Okay, so they're gonna go for this line. I'm gonna play what Jabava London. The Jabava London is so popular that as soon as you say Jabava, you completely entirely relate it with the Jabava London. But okay, what Badur Jabava, the super grandmaster from Georgia, played in the World Rapid and Blitz, which is knight c3, I believe, if I recall correctly. Goodness gracious, yeah, this is what happens when you play bullets. And g3. Okay, we're not gonna get the line that they played. I think they went queen a5 and g6. So this system is nothing to worry about as black. So you're gonna say, David, if this is nothing to worry about as black, why are you playing it in the first place? You're supposed to play and make moves, so you're giving trouble to your opponent. The answer to that question is theory. Avoiding opening theory. And not only that, but okay, white still has some plus in this position. So it's a sorry, it's not a cardboard structure. It would be a cardboard structure if my pawn was only 2 or this pawn was only 7. But it's a symmetrical structure. And my knight is on d3, as opposed to this knight on f6, which is not on d6. So d3 is known to be a very nice square for the knights, d3 and d6 respectively. And now I'm gonna play bishop f4. Okay. So let's see. Do they want c5? I don't think so. Rook c8 is an enigmatic move to me. I don't completely understand it. I think I'm gonna go b4 just in case. I mean, preventing c5, but also preparing knight c5. If bishop takes c5, then I take with a b pawn, which is the reason why I played b4. And I should be happy. Now, knight c3, is that something to worry about? Can I tolerate it? So, for example, f3, knight c3, queen d2. I actually like this, so I'm gonna go for it. Against this, I had the idea of playing knight c5 simply. And I liked my position. b6, knight takes a6. Rook a8, a4. Now this has to be calculated closely. There's also knight b8 after rook a8, because after rook takes b8, bishop takes b8, queen takes b8, rook takes e7. The bishop is hanging in the end. But that looks very, like, what is knight b8 even doing? Just knight takes c6, and I think it's hard to believe. Although I don't see, other than knight a7. Okay. We are falling victims of the beauty of chess, which is not a bad thing in classical. But in blitz, I think it's not practical for sure. Now, bishop e5 looks very tempting, but also c3. c3 is the simple way. And this I like, actually. Because I think my bishop on f4 is slightly stronger than the bishop on f6. The bishop on f6 is completely neutralized. Completely neutralized. Now, I can't go knight takes a6. I suspect I'm getting completely destroyed after that, after rook a8. So I'm gonna go knight d3. I'm expecting knight d6. And I guess I have to consider bishop takes d6 or knight e5. Those are my two candidate moves so far. Other than knight d6 is black. Does black have another way of playing? I mean, rook e8 is quite sure it's not a blunder, but it doesn't look like the best. And a5, once again, I don't see too much. I'm not that worried about this. In fact, I can somehow gain the c5 square. What am I doing? Okay, I'm gonna play practical chess. Okay, I thought b takes... Whoa, wow. Okay, I'm gonna sacrifice the queen here. I just completely messed everything up. Wrong pre-move. I have no time either. It's a complete disaster. I'm gonna try to go knight d3. Something like this. Yeah, this is not what I wanted. If it wasn't obvious already. Rook e1. Knight e5 doesn't work. Yep. Not good. How close can we get? Good game, bet tangent. That was horrible by me. I just misplayed, misclicked, or mispredicted. I mispredicted, that's the way. c5 is a strong move then, wow. It wasn't even in my counter moves. Yeah, this is why you shouldn't play bullets. So I guess I go knight e5 here. I don't know what I played. I know, I didn't play a takes b6. Oh, wow, what a move. Okay, b7. So a takes b6 is one of the ways. I know a4 is also fine. Yeah, here I completely panicked. I mean, I just didn't see this and I saw I had 20 seconds, so... But yeah, bishop e5 is still fine. Because I renew the threat of queen takes c3. And then... I thought rook takes e5 here to gain a tempo, but knight takes e5 is fine. And after c takes d4, a takes b6. Yeah, or a6, but a takes b6 makes more sense. a6 is the top engine move according to the engine, but okay. Let's take a look at how we were doing. So knight g2, definitely not the main way. I mean, g3 I think here makes a little bit more sense. Because if knight f6, bishop g2, knight c6, knight f3. I guess you keep your opponent guessing a little bit more. A little bit longer where you're gonna develop the knight. But okay, we got a decent position, and actually here we could have played b3 with the idea of bishop b2. What? Who would think in this position the bishop belongs on this diagonal where it's just completely closed? Okay, never mind. It was low engine, low depth engine. Now the engine is saying normal things. Rook e1 and bishop e3. Never mind. I mean, b3 is, yeah, still top, like top 3 podium. But yeah, new goal for this year should be manage your time control. Yeah, it's been the resolution for like 3 years already. 22 here was slightly stronger. Rook e1, 94. Okay, none of them. a3 is fine. Queen f3 here, keeping the tension. Thinking with the queen. I'm assuming we're threatening d5. What if c6? This is the best move according to the engine. Knight g4. Okay, let's say bishop d7. I just want to see the nature of the strategical position. So, without tactics, what's going on with the structure? What do I want? Where do I want my minor pieces? Queen c7, knight e4, rook f d8. And we want a kingside attack. Goodness, okay. Instead of this, I completely liquidized. What did I want to say there? Simplified. Liquidized. And now it's completely equal. Maybe you can argue we have a slight plus, but just nothing. Knight takes a6 worked because there's a4 here, which I saw, but I thought knight takes c3 and it was super complicated. Wow! Bishop f1 and knight c7. Okay, well, yeah, I'm a patter. I think of Daniel, yeah. He used to play it religiously and feed the tournaments before he retired from classical chess for that long period. According to him, Naroditsky, at some point, good luck. At some point, it was only him, Bortnik, and Jubava himself playing the Jubava London. But of course, that was, I don't know, 2016 or 2015. Let's see, maybe we're gonna get some sort of English rat with d4. There we go. So of course, now we don't take on d4 because we've already made a concession with this pawn move f5. So instead, we go for e4. We claim this is a yeah, it's some sort of French, but it's a good French because the bishop is outside. However, I think with this last move, I get the chance of keeping my knights, trading this bishop for another bishop, which is better than... It's better to keep the knight because it's a closed position. So knight f6 back. King h8, although h5, knight g6 is completely terrifying. I mean, yeah, I have no idea. Queen f7 also move. I think I'm gonna ultimately go for queen f7, king h8, h5 in a blitz game. This is, you don't want to worry about this every single move you make. Okay, this I've learned that you have to close everything off. If not, it seems like the side that could capitalize from the open c file more is probably white. Now white castles queen side. I'm gonna take my knight to the ideal c7 square. And essentially this is just... it becomes a race. So who can throw their pawns faster at the other kings, at the opponent kings, at the opponent's king. You guys are gonna have to tolerate quite a lot. My brain stops working when you play. Bullet is so bad. I don't know why I started playing it again. I'm gonna quit it again. I'm gonna get to 2900 and quit it. Okay, let's go a6. Even if a4, I think I'm gonna go for b5. Here, b5 is interesting. Let's go for it. I don't care about this situation in the center. I don't care about pawns over here. I just want to open things up. Here I thought I had a bishop 65, but then now g4 is a little bit worrying. But I have takes, and it's interesting. Is this a queen trap? It's still not easy though. Takes. Okay. 94 is blundering a knight. Nice. Yeah, this is actually probably losing. Wow. Very well evaluated by my opponent. Very well evaluated. Okay, I was hoping for this one. Now I get 95. Why is that? Is this a big deal? Because now I'm threatening knight 66 if bishop e3, for instance. Okay, this one. For some reason I thought this was fine for me, but it's not. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. It's probably not. But at least my king is slightly active and the pawns are too advanced. So of course, if this was still the middle game and there were still tons of pieces over the board, white's pawns forward like that would be more of an advantage, but now it's more of a weakness. Knight f7 makes sense as well. Let's see if my opponent is in the Christmas spirit still. Thank you very much, opponent. They were indeed still in the Christmas spirit. You don't have to be in the Christmas spirit to be generous like that. I mean, it is a mistake in the end. Okay, knight b4 hitting everything. Knight d3 is also a super threat. Bishop c4, I'm gonna go knight d3. In fact, king b1, rook takes b2, king a1, knight c2 is mate. So they have to go. I mean, it's at least a draw. And I would seriously consider taking the draw. Especially because... okay, they're gonna play for the win, which makes sense. I'm gonna go rook c2, trying to push this guy, but also knight b4. Knight b4. With a3, I give a check. Take. Okay, my opponent's hanging everything. Is this intentional? Knight d3. No, let's take this. Let's simplify. Oh, we have check here. Didn't see it only after I played it. And just to make our life super easy. My opponent's gonna try this one. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Thanks for the game, John de Murol. Let's take a look at it. What? This is wrong? Well, move 4 and we're already making a mistake here. Bishop e7 was the right way. According to the engine, f3 is already +1, but okay. Like, why is this an end? Okay, why? Why is everything so laggy? Do you guys see this? Look. Oh, okay, of course, it's not gonna happen anymore. Ah, there we go. Look at this. Ah, it only happens when I move the pieces like this. It's pretty laggy, no? Okay, well, h4 was played. But according to the engine, we should have kept the tension. One more move, and then gone e4 after something like knight f3. But what if bishop g2? Knight f6? It's all about flexibility. It makes sense. So we just, of course, we would like to play e4 once white plays knight f3, so we gain a tempo. And playing it like this kind of is nonsensical. Here, bishop takes f6 was terrifying. It seems like it's just two knights against... The pair of knights is going to be better than the pair of bishops. But I was relieved at this. Although the engine doesn't agree with that, but okay. The engine doesn't understand these positions incredibly well at low depth. Because they're closed positions. You guys should check out this interview of Ivan Saric in 2025 Croatian Cup, I think. He played against... Not sure who was playing against who, but in the French defense, he was saying that the engine says that white is winning for a long time because of the great space advantage, but at some point, the engine drops you and leaves you by yourself and says it's equal. It's on the feed chess channel. But okay. Yeah, this is +1 because of those reasons, I assume, but it's not as easy. And yeah, d5, according to the engine, is a mistake. c5 was the way, but what if d5? Now queen a4 with the idea of throwing pawns like b4, b5. Okay, well, yeah. Once again, I think it's just the engine kind of, I don't know. Well, actually, I do believe I'm worse here. Because it's, once again, the pair of knights against the... Wait a second. No, it's not. What am I saying? I do have the pair of knights as well. Okay, I don't know. I guess my opponent has stopped my counterplay in the king side. However, I can't stop the counterplay in the queen side that easily. I would need a move like a5. And this knight is amazing on f4. But yeah, after d5, c5, now we're completely back in the game. Especially after rook b1, according to the engine, h6, g6, knight e6 had to be tried. Interesting. What if takes? Okay, well, concrete chess. For some reason that's working. Opening the b file to like for black's pieces. Seems good for myself, but okay. Let's be time friendly. We only have a couple of more games. And yeah, here I should have played queen e8 or bishop e4 according to the engine. But this is, once again, I still had queen e8, which I completely missed. Of course, I wanted rook b4. This is logical. But the queen sacrifice is more than working. It's completely winning. It's +3. But here, rook g1 is slightly inaccurate. And knight e4 is completely inaccurate. And after this, it's just back to the game. Rook d1 was better. So it's one of those cases where mistakes don't come alone. And knight b4 is a complete blunder, by the way, because there's this beautiful move. Bishop e2. Oh, wow. I was trying to find it before looking at the engine, and that's the idea, that you have knight f5, knight g3. The bishop e2 stops all the threats, because after knight e3 now you have king d1, or king d2 even better. Good lord, what a move, bishop e2. But they didn't find it, and now... we had a winning position like this, okay. Well, that's super poor. Now it's equal. Now we're in the easier side of equality. We blundered this. I didn't even see it during the game. They blundered. Wow, everyone blundered. It was much worse than I expected. Killer Saba. Okay, Killer Saba. Our friendo. Our friendo didn't want to play against us. Killer Saba. How did our games go? Maybe I should start preparing against these guys in leeches. Good luck. We're gonna exercise our Philidor. Nice. I was fearing we were not gonna get the chance. F4. Yeah, this is a line. Knight c6. Normally bishop b5 is played instead of queen e3. Now, the question is g6 or bishop g7 followed by bishop g7 or bishop e7. My instincts tell me bishop e7. To completely accelerate. Do not waste time. Castle as soon as possible. My opponent's 1,000 years away from castling. Okay, that's maybe a little bit extreme, but you guys get the point. Now, knight b4 is threatening knight takes c2, forcing queen d3 or queen d2, let's say. And then d5. I know, what am I saying? Queen d3 is blundering the queen, so queen d2. And then maybe d5. This looks amazing. Sorry. Okay, bishop e3, of course, I completely missed the best move of my opponent. Let's go d5 regardless. If a3, I guess knight e6 is my excuse. Yeah, this is what a way of ruining an opening edge. Okay, I'm gonna put my knights on g4 and b4. If I already said knight b4, I have to go knight g4. I have no choice. Okay, that's a joke, of course. c6, kind of getting somewhere, or d4. d4, knight d5, bishop f5. Okay, I'm gonna go c6. This was a little bit stupid by me. I apologize. As I said, I come from playing 1,000 bullet games. So, bear with me. Now, the move f5 is extremely anti-positional, and I think it's kind of just playing for tricks. So let's go bishop e6. The idea is d4. Bishop takes b3 and knight takes c2. Whoa! Good lord. Goodness gracious. Okay, what if I go f5? g5, bishop g3, and then knight f7. And defend a slightly worse position, potentially. Okay, let me go... Actually, this bishop on h4 can't be trapped. It's well known. Or it's very difficult. You need a knight on g2 or on f3, and it seems like white can't easily get either of those. So that's why I'm going for this. Now I'm going for d4. Although this is a suboptimal way of getting it. Yeah, I'm just playing like complete rubbish, if I'm completely honest. Okay, let's go rook d8. Trying to go for d4 now, again. Rook d1, c5, does that work? I don't think so. Okay, let's go king h8. Or... Okay, let's go knight e6, knight c5. As I said, this bishop on h4 is trapped, but there's no way. Thanks to the structure, thanks to the closed structure, there doesn't seem to be any reasonable way of... Oh, knight c5, knight f6, but that doesn't do anything. And it does. Okay, let's go king h8. Okay, g6 now. I mean, allowing that knight on f6 is suicidal. But do I have a choice? I suspect I do not. So I'm gonna go knight c5. I have 20 seconds and the worst position. Let's see if I can save this from catastrophe. Maybe I should try a5 at some point. Looks like the right move to try here. Knight d4, a4, knight takes e6 seems to be working. Okay, now take and go d4. Because there's bishop takes b3. Okay, yeah, I was fearing what my opponent would play this, but at least we got rid of that guy. Very annoying guy, by the way. Then I don't have 6. Maybe... Whoa. Okay. What is going on here? Whoa. I have 5 seconds. Oy, oy, oy. Yeah, I managed my time very poorly. Thanks for the game, Magapr. Sorry, I'm being silly. Knight g6, okay. Yeah, this is a very good trap by my opponent. Like, queen g1 also loses to king h4. Wow. Of course, I was hoping for something like this, where I'm winning. I think I can pre-move mate. I mean, this is what I would have played if I had that limited amount of time. There we go. Check, checkmate. Benjamin Mateo. Yeah, there's nothing else, right? I mean, knight g6 here as well, but I'm trying to look for a quick mate, but there doesn't seem to be any. So we got what we wanted. We have met this before. We played bishop e7, but yeah, we played softly. We didn't punish the opening as we should. According to the engine, bishop e6, bishop takes e6, f takes e6, knight f3, and d5 here was the best way. But I think castles should be fine, and it is fine. According to the engine, it's still roughly equal. Here, knight g2 is completely wrong. I mean, knight f3. And this is why knight b4 turned out to be okay. But bishop e6 here, of course. This is what I was trying. But I realized that idea way too late. Yeah, d5 is not working. And after d5, we get a worse game. But okay, somehow we were holding on. But yeah, this is just winning. So here we should have played f6. Open things up as quickly as possible before we get completely crushed. And here f6 already is allowing f5 stuff, I am assuming. I know, it's just takes and bishop e3. So why f6 here, castles? I know, this is just losing. Sorry, so takes. And a rook e8, of course. Yeah. Well, that was pathetic. Pathetic. But it's okay. Okay. I'm sobering up from the bullet games. We're gonna get a Sicilian, delayed Alapin. Yeah. No one should play bullet. Only if you you make money out of chess. So you play bullet for a living, and it's very serious and it's a profession. But you're wrong, you learn all the wrong things. Okay, h3 seems like a useful move because I wanted initially to play bishop f4, but now I'm getting worried about knight h5 ideas. Now I'm gonna play bishop f4. Takes, queen b6 or queen b6 right away makes sense. And now, so knight a3 is an idea, but I think takes, queen takes b2 is just losing the pawn. Queen d2 looks like a weird move because it's getting on the way of this knight, but this knight wants to go to a3 ultimately. So I think I'm gonna go for queen d2. It's protecting b2, it's protecting d4, and it's supporting bishop h6 in the future. Now bishop takes d6 is an idea. Takes and then e5, but I suspect there's knight takes e5 in that move, in that variation. So I'm gonna simply develop with knight a3. I'm expecting something like d5, especially because my queen is on d2. And after e5, there's knight e4, hitting the queen. But okay, I was wrong. Or maybe my opponent plays it now. So this move makes tons of sense, especially because knight c4 was coming. My opponent's preventing that as a whole. The other move that I suggested was also preventing that. Which one is better? I'm not sure. Okay, let's take. And then d5, I'm assuming. Yeah, this is probably fine for them. I'm not loving this position. But okay, I feel like I have to go e5. I suspect I still have some small plus because of the center. But this knight is all of a sudden misplaced on a3. So I have to reroute that guy somehow. How am I gonna do that? Knight b5 actually. Let's take first. And then knight b5. Then knight c3. For example, a6, knight c3. Is knight d6? Oh, no, it's not. Rook takes d6. Okay, let's go knight c3. I'm sacrificing a pawn because well, first of all, I can take it back. Second of all, that knight was doing nothing, so I'm more than happy to sacrifice the pawn for the sake of getting rid of that guy, the knight. Okay, let's go rook b1. Queen c6, I saw c4, but now I'm realizing knight c3 is working. Queen takes c4 is probably working. It was just a bad move in general, I think. I think I can luckily go for bishop d2. I can go for b5 though. I don't need to break the tension. Yeah, this is bad news. Okay, let's go rook b3. Ugh. This is horrible news actually. Okay, what about knight g5? I want to sacrifice the queen. So the idea is that e6 is a little weak. Okay. What is that all about? Whoa. This doesn't work. Queen f6, I have knight f3. They realized it. So now they're going for panic. And there's queen c2. It's not complete panic. It's a little bit of panic though. Okay. So, rook c1. Threatening c takes d4. We have to keep an eye on the clock, as usual. This. I think I can play some black king somewhere. Ah, queen h5. Ay, ay, ay. What a move. Good lord. This probably faced... Oh, I lagged. Well, okay, I was completely losing either way. Thanks for the game, Sich Subject. Oh, that was such a shame. I paralyzed. I froze when I sacrificed the queen. It's not easy though. Knight f3 is not the best way. King g3. And then taking here. Yeah. It was a good game. You posed problems. I mean, after this, I mean, I'm completely winning, but I failed to capitalize on it. Yeah. Let's take a look at the opening. So this is all the delayed Alapin stuff. B5 is the top engine move, and I've said it before, but no one plays that. And it is the top engine move in the low depth, so I'm quite sure E6 is also fine. H3 is absolutely fine. Rook C8, bishop F4, and queen B6. So here I should have gone knight BD2. If queen takes B2, I have knight C4. And it's actually straight away trapping the queen. I know it's not yet. I guess it's another sort of material gain. We're actually winning the exchange, not the queen. Sorry about that. It did look like rook c1 was trapping the queen before. But what about c takes d4, which is the same idea? So now knight c4 is of course not possible. Now we simply take, and queen takes b2 is, I don't know, wrong for other reasons. Bishop takes d6, and then e5, and knight e4, and a rook b1. Ah, okay, interesting. But yeah, what I did was wrong. Queen d2 is already fine for black. It did look weird. Black can already take on d4, by the way, and play d5. Yeah, it's all about that idea. I should have been aware of that. But okay, it's still roughly equal. During the game I said white is probably in the driver's seat. That's completely wrong. Black is slightly better, not white. But black had to play something like rook c6, doubling the rooks on the c file. That f6 gives me a slight plus again. Knight b5 is wrong, rook ac1 was better. a6 is wrong, rook c6 is better. Knight c3 is good. And here rook ab1 is correct. Bishop d2 is wrong. Queen e3, what a move. So if this rook ec1 is +2, what is the explanation behind this? Wow, you're just winning the knight, and there's nothing you can do. That's insane. Okay. Well, queen e3 is a super move. What is even the threat? c4? Oh yeah, it is c4. Okay. Bishop d2 is the human move. This is equal. And knight g5 is just a practical move. Yeah, I knew that the queen sacrifice is completely wrong, but I don't see what to do. a4 I have to play. It's already a bad position for white, but okay, it's equal. Black is in the easier side of equality. Because they're the ones putting all the pressure. And yeah, this queen sacrifice we already analyzed. Okay. Let's take a look. We're still not, are we? No, we're lagging. Okay, we have around 7 minutes left. Let's see if we can get a win for the end game. Castle here, so everything's pretty standard. So now I'm gonna play bishop e6. Normally white places the knight on f3 rather than on e2. I'm assuming my opponent is preparing d4. I'm gonna play bishop e6. Like bd7. So d5 takes. Unclear. I'm gonna play queen e8. We have to take if bishop f7 we're losing c6. Do we have to take this one? Completely blundered the pawn on b7, but okay, I'm gonna act as if the weak light squares around my opponent's king are gonna serve as sufficient compensation. So now knight d4, queen h5 ideas. I mean, queen h5 seems pretty extreme, given that queen takes e7 was possible, but okay, queen takes e2, I was gonna argue queen takes e2 was in the air. Or like followed by queen h5, queen h3, you know. It's a blitz game. f4 seems like the right way of asking questions. f3 is the main threat. If my opponent allows me to go f3, the queen is going to be in jail, as in that famous AlphaZero game against Stockfish back in 2018. On November 24th. if I'm recall correctly. No, I'm joking. So they take twice and they go f3. D5, bishop c5. Okay, d5 seems like the move regardless. Just activating the bishop. And bishop d6 is also an idea. Okay. Or should we put the queen? Excellent question. Queen of 7. Creating the threat. Okay. We give a check. Now let's reserve the check. Bishop f6 may be what we want as well. Let's go queen c6. Okay, I'm gonna go bishop f6. We're down a pawn, but our king is much safer than our opponent's. At least that's what I argue. Rook takes or queen takes? Let's play rook takes to double somewhere. In the e file, for instance. I mean, I know f4 is weak. But maybe I can address that somehow with queen d6. I mean, for starters, I think queen e3 is something to worry about. If takes, I have to take with a pawn, which I didn't completely plan. But I suspect this is good for me. King d2, rook d2 is winning a pawn. The pawn back. e2, rook e1, rook d1 is the deadly threat. e2? No. Let's go rook d2 actually. Rook c3, e2. Oh, did I blunder? Yep. Amazing, amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Oh, yeah. Well, okay. I'm still down a pawn if rook e8, but okay. Check. Check. King f7. King f6. I know that's... I know. h5 takes, you can take it, king f6, king e5. Is the idea. Okay. So it takes rook b2. Rook d5. Rook e5, rook takes e5 is what I'm arguing. Here I'm gonna go rook d1. I want rook g1. And rook b1. And rook g1. And this. And this. What am I doing? That was the worst way I could have... The worst way you could have won that pawn. That's insane. Okay, guys, thanks for tolerating me. Let's just analyze this one very quickly, but okay, it was very poor. I didn't provide any quality to this one. Yeah, after d5, I'm losing the pawn and it's bad. Bishop f7 was needed. Queen e8 was wrong. But then we got back into the game here. Queen g5 was needed. Rook f d8, rook bishop c5. Yeah, bishop c5. Okay, this is my instinct, but okay, it's such a difficult thing to know when to trust your instinct and where not to. So I'm not gonna blame myself too much for that one. I want to reserve the check. Yeah, it's just white is winning. Sorry, better because of the extra pawn, but it's not winning. And here it's equal. And here I play h5, exactly, play h5, what am I doing? And then rook d2. I'm sleeping, I'm falling asleep here with my tactics. And then, of course, this is completely lost. We got some chances, but okay, it's time trouble, and it's no longer chess, it's a video game now. It's whoever moves everything quickly and things like that, etc. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I'll be around for another stream tomorrow. I promise I'll be a little bit cleaner, saner, stronger, faster. Not a degenerate. I haven't played Berlin in a while, so I played a little bit. But yeah, Happy New Year, and I will see you guys around.